And I'm a realtor here in DFW, and I make videos just like this one giving you a tour of the neighborhoods and suburbs around Dallas. But this week we're not specifically talking about any neighborhood or suburb. We're really talking about the pros and cons of living here in Dallas. I want to start with the cons of Dallas. Let's just get these nasty ones out of the way, and then we'll end on the pros. We'll end on a high note, okay? So let's get on into it. So one of the first cons that I was thinking about was the traffic here. Now, if you're coming from a big metro area like New York, Atlanta, LA, the traffic is not nearly as bad. But from somebody who is coming from a smaller town and not used to a lot of traffic, you know, Dallas is getting a lot more traffic because so many people have relocated to the area. And speaking of traffic, we gotta talk about the drivers here. Because there's so many different people that have relocated to the area, across the world, across the United States, you have all kinds of drivers from all across the world and all across the state. Dallas is not one of those areas where you can just like leisurely drive around. It is defensive driving 101. You need to know where you're going. People are going from destination A to B extremely fast and take as many shortcuts as needed. And if that means cutting you off in the process, they will do it without hesitation. Anytime you get on one of these Texas roads, it's defensive driving. Look to your right, look to your left, make sure nobody's merging into your lane. Okay. Speaking of, you know, the traffic, the drivers, you are gonna need a car here. DFW is a pretty spread out area. There's no like one area of town where you go to the grocery store, the gym, a kickboxing class. The public transportation is not great. It's not super reliable. So if you have the means to get a car, it's gonna save you a lot of headache. Nothing is super close by. I would say most things are like 15, 30-ish minutes away at all times. And because everybody drives a car here, we do have tollways. We do not have a state income tax, but in my mind, this is their way of making up for it. Now, it really depends on where you're commuting to and from work and where you live, because someone who lives in Dallas, works in Dallas, plays in Dallas, you may never even use the tollway. But someone who, let's say, works in Plano or Frisco and commutes down to Dallas for work and then back home, you're probably gonna need to use the tollway, and it's just gonna be an added expense that you kind of have to think about. Now, the second con is the weather. The weather is a little all over the place. You could have rain, hail, tornado. We do not get hurricanes here, but just about everything else we may get here. You could have hail in the morning and then sunny skies the rest of the day, and you'd never even know that a storm happened that morning. And I would say, you know, depending on where you are, again in DFW, will dictate how much weather you get. If you're in a remote suburb of DFW, you're gonna get some crazy weather. But then if you live closer to the city, like if you live in West Plano or closer to Frisco or Dallas, you're really not gonna see as much. Now, we will get some occasional hail here, but you're really just not gonna see as much as if you were like way on out there, like skirting the city limits kind of thing. I live in West Plano and I love a good storm. I love the excitement. I like to get a little scared, but most of the storms just like breeze over West Plano. We don't get a lot of action. Maybe one storm every once in a while where I'm like excited about it. All in all, it normally blows over these cities. So if you're a storm chaser, don't be living in West Plano or Dallas. The other thing is the heat here is pretty brutal. I came from North Carolina, so the East Coast. I went to school in South Carolina, go Gamecocks. That heat there was wet. You know, it was moist, it was heavy air, it was really humid. Unlike the humidity in the Carolinas or on the East Coast, Dallas is just hot. Dry heat, if you were just to be placed in the oven, that's what it feels like here. Like, it's just hot. The summers here are pretty brutal. Pro of the weather here is I would say it's mostly sunny. Like 9 times out of 10, it is sunny here in Texas. But in the Carolinas, I feel like we could have maybe a week long of rain. Like it rains an entire week. And here, that like never happens. I mean, I almost wish that would happen sometimes because like, you know, curl up with a good book, a little coffee, and it's raining for like 3 days straight. Like that's so cozy and nice. No, that does not happen here. You may have rain for like 2 or 3 hours and then it's sunshine again. It's a good thing. I know it's a good thing. But sometimes like you just kind of want like that cloudy, cozy weather where you like snuggle up in a blanket. If you know, you know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. the pros of living in Dallas, Texas. One of the biggest pros is the opportunity. So because so many people have relocated here, many headquarters and businesses and startups have also relocated here. So if you are someone who is looking for a fresh start, you need a new job, or maybe you want to advance in your career, it's a really great place to be for business. It's also very diverse. So you've got a ton of different ethnicities here, cultures from all over the world. I get the opportunity to meet a lot of different cultures just through my job of real estate, and it always surprises me where people are from and how they got here. And speaking of diversity and people relocating from all different places over the world, you have DFW Airport, which is a huge reason why so many people relocate here, is because it's such a central spot. I mean, you're in the center of the state, so just about anywhere you want to go to, you've got a direct flight, which is awesome. So if you're a big traveler, then DFW is a great place for you because you've got direct access to DFW Airport, which can take you wherever you want to go. And I would also say another pro of Dallas is there are so many different things to do. We've got a huge sports scene, we've got the art scene, we've got a ton of shopping, my ladies, and we also have a lot of outdoor activities. Now, depending on the time of year, I don't know how much you want to be outside. Like here in the summer, it is August right now, and it is pretty brutal. But we do have a lot of parks and different outdoor activities. You've got White Rock Lake, which is a great park to walk around in. You've got dog parks, just a lot of stuff that you can do there. You've got a pretty big art scene here, and I feel like a lot of people overlook the art scene. If that's something that you're interested in, I'm gonna have a list down below of like all the things you want to check out if you are into the arts. It just makes for a lot of interesting things to do. And of course, we have a ton of different sports here as well. We've got FC Dallas, you have the Dallas Stars, the Mavericks, all kinds of good sports teams all around DFW. Another pro is the real estate here. The real estate is not as cheap as it once was, and it's just a hot place to live right now. So naturally prices are gonna go up when the demand is really high. Obviously, we're not the cheapest, but we're definitely not the most expensive. See, on average, the cost of living here is typically lower than a lot of the bigger metro areas. And I would say a unique thing about the real estate here is there's a little bit of everything. So if you're coming from New York City and you want a high-rise condo, Dallas has got that. If you're coming from a farm town and you want like 10 acres, DFW has that out there. If you are looking for maybe 1 acre of land and you want a big pool in the backyard, we can find you that. You've got so many different housing types. You have so many different price ranges here in Dallas. I think that's a major pro of the real estate market here is you can find a little bit of anything you want. And the last thing I'll touch on as a pro of Dallas, I would say generally the people here have got some awesome Southern hospitality. There's a lot of different cultures, so depending on who you may run into, I don't know. But I would say most people are really friendly here and welcoming, except when you're driving. Nobody's friends driving around DFW. Everybody is in it for themselves. I'm telling you again, defensive driving. So everybody's nice and friendly until you're on the road beside them. And then all bets are off. You guys are in it to win it. You're in it for yourselves. So that's what I would say. If you're relocating to this area and not totally sure where you want to land, whether you want a high rise or a large lot, or you just want to be somewhere with good school districts, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help you and maybe point you in the right direction. DFW is a really big place, so I can totally understand how it can be daunting to pick a suburb or pick a neighborhood, especially when you're relocating to this area and you've not frequented this place very often. I totally get that. I felt the same way. So any questions you have, I would absolutely love to help you figure out where your perfect place here is in DFW. And if nothing else, I will see you on the next video.